Welcome to JustWannaQuilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore all kinds of things, stories about quilting, tools, field trips, maybe some famous quilters stop by, and, of course, a little bit of copyright thrown in just for fun. This is Elizabeth Townsend-Gard, your host, and I'm a law professor at Tulane University Law School and a faculty fellow at the A.B. Friedman School of Business at Tulane. And I just want to quilt. So today we talked to Kim Lepacek. She is a quilter, a pattern designer. She and her family owns an apple orchard, and she is the person that created, if you've seen them around, the Dresden house quilt. That's hers. So we talked to her about.
My name is Kim Lepacek, and I'm calling from Poynette, Wisconsin, which is just north of Madison, Wisconsin.
Nice. And tell me your first memory of someone sewing or quilting in your life.
Actually, my first memory is probably of myself sewing. It was in 1988, so I was 5. I was going to be 6 soon. But my parents had come to Wisconsin to look for our house, and my grandma stayed with us. And it was right before my brother's birthday, so right around now. And I went into my mom's rag bins, and my grandma helped me sew together my mom's rags. And so I made my brother a quilt, but it was like, it included the furry toilet seat cover. It was different. It was different.
In some way, though, that age, because I just was quilting with someone who's 6, there's no rules. So there's no sense of like what fabric goes or what you should do. And she layered a bunch of things on top of things, and it was really cool. And I thought, wow, like we lose that, don't we?
Oh, we totally do. I love that I love it when my kids, although there is a point where they start to stress out about it. Like my 10-year-old is starting to stress out about it, and she used to just like go with it, not worry at all about it. I have to admit, though, I'm pretty low stress when I sew and create. Like if it doesn't work, I cut it up.
It doesn't work. Yeah,
It really doesn't stress me out.
Interesting. So tell me how you got from that first experience to what you do now.
I've always created my whole life. I had a 6th grade art teacher. Actually, she was my art teacher all of middle school. But it was in 6th grade conferences. She told my parents to buy me whatever supplies I wanted because I wouldn't waste it. I would use them and I would make something awesome. And my dad listened. So luckily, I was always encouraged to create, although I was still encouraged to like do math and everything else. So whenever I was in high school, I got into the School of Engineering at Madison, Wisconsin, and I decided I needed a quilt though for my dorm room. So I went to Walmart and I got all the clearance fabric, and I cut out a square of paper, and I pinned it to the fabric, and I cut all my squares with scissors, and I sewed myself a quilt. So this is in 2000, like the year 2000. So there were such things as rotary cutters, and there were all that stuff. I had no idea that existed, and I just knew I wanted a quilt for my bed in my dorm. So that's how that started. And then I met my now husband in the summer of 2002, and his mom is a really amazing quilter. So we would go and have dinner at their house on Tuesday nights. And she would give me a quilting lesson and us meals. It was awesome. And she taught me about rotary cutting and pressing my seams and setting my seams and using certain fabrics. And she taught me so much. And she still, like, to this day teaches me. And I had a really amazing teacher. She was super patient with me. I don't like to follow the rules, but I've discovered that when you're learning a new thing, it's really good to follow the rules and learn the skills. And then once you have the skills, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really awesome. And what an amazing thing to have as part of your family, like that you have a relationship with your mother-in-law that's distinct from just being, wife.
Yeah. Well, when I first met her, I walked into her house and it was like full of craftiness and amazingness. And I thought to myself, I was like, this woman's going to like me. I actually have an apple orchard and we run it like as a family. So, and
you do?
Yeah. Yep. And overall we get along. Obviously by the end of the season, we're all like sort of sick of each other, but I couldn't run it with probably anybody else but them. Because
you have an apple orchard?
I have an apple orchard. Yes.
That's totally insane. Like, what does an apple orchard look like? How that's craziness. So it's season, and tell me a little bit more about that.
So our apple orchard is actually pretty small in comparison to other orchards. We have about 20 acres of apple trees.
Wow.
I think it's about 8,000 trees. I'm not 100% sure. It's something ridiculous because what you do now with apple trees is you grow them on trellises. So part of our orchard actually looks like a vineyard almost. So the trellis is meant to like support that, like sort of be the wood for the apple trees. So the apple tree focuses on growing better apples. It's also way easier to pick because the apples are getting bigger. They're not as high. They get a lot more sunshine, so you don't worry about the coloring as much. We have 60 varieties of apples. We're not a pick your own orchard, so it's the majority is picked by my husband and his father. And then my mother-in-law and I run the little shop, and my kids help too now. But yeah, it's pretty insane.
How did you decide to do that? That's like such a thing. That's like
I didn't decide. I'm a city girl. I met my husband, and he like loves farming, and he loves like doing stuff. And I knew that like I could not do this with him. So luckily, I love people. Like I'm actually a horrible farmer. Like I'm horrible at it. I don't really like bugs and dirt. I don't prefer to be outside. I'd rather be sewing. But I really like being in the shop, and like I like selling stuff to people that they don't know that they need, but once I explain that they need it, they realize they do.
Now, do you sell more than just apples there? Do you sell like quilting stuff or other things there?
Yeah, actually, so we sell apples, cider, donuts, and caramel apples is our main, and then like canned goods and like what you typically find in a little farm stand. But then we made a little mini quilt shop in the corner, like with our fabric, like my mother-in-law hand dyes fabric too, of course. So we have the hand-dyed fabric there. We have like, I sort of de-stashed in the fall. Like I have a lot of my fabric on sale, and it's pretty cheap because if I sell it, then I can buy more fabric. And I have like my patterns there. And then I also make jewelry. And if we go on, like I make pillowcases and like all this random stuff. So it's this like really cute little sort of kitschy farm shop.
And when is it open? Is it open just in the fall, or is it open all the time? Or
nope, just in the fall. I only like the public from like the middle of August until the day before Thanksgiving. So it works out perfectly.
That's really great.
Yeah.
And so you can make things and get ready for it during the summer and
Yep. Yeah, I do apple season for 3 months, and then the rest of the year is my quilting season. And like whatever, like if I get really into some little mini bag pattern and I overmake, then I know I have an outlet, so it's perfect.
That's really cool. I like that. That is really clever. That's so lovely. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Now that I started doing talks and stuff, a lot of the ladies have come and visited me to check out the shop, which is really cool.
That's really cool. And do people want to sell things at your shop? Are you getting people asking if they can, sell things there?
So I do get that asked a lot. I actually only do consignment for 2 days a year. I have this sale right before Thanksgiving. It's actually the weekend of hunting up here. It's called the Handcrafted Hoedown for the holidays.
Yeah.
So I wasn't allowed to just call it a craft sale. My mother-in-law made me come up with something ridiculous. And I think we're on our 11th or 12th year of it. I think, yeah, because I started it right after I started having kids. So that's the only 2 days I do consignment. Between myself and my mother-in-law, we make a lot of stuff. And like during apple season, I promised my father-in-law that the focus of the shop would be apples.
Because it's an apple shop?
Because it's an apple shop. And like really, there's a point in the season, especially like last year, we had, I think, about 40 varieties of apples on the shelf at one time, which is like really hard to fit. And you have to be really creative. So, and it's also just nice because it's like, I mean, I love that people are making stuff and want an outlet, but it's hard to like deal with consignment. You have to keep track of what they're selling, and you have to keep track of what you owe them and all that stuff. So for 2 days, I can do it.
For 2 days, you can do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, this is not what I expected. This is so insanely awesome. Yeah. How can you have 40 varieties of apples? Like what? Like, I would be really freaked out in your shop because I would be like, I have no idea what to understand with an apple. Like, so do you help people like me figure out what apple they would want?
I do. So we have 60 varieties, but the thing about apples is they start ripening. Like we have apples that ripen mid-August. So not all apples are ripe in mid-August. They like spread out their ripening dates. Oh. So it starts mid-August, and we have apples that ripen all the way through the end of October. Wow. So the other thing that's interesting is the apples that ripen in August do not keep. So we only grow what we think we can sell in the time where they're good.
Wow.
So when they're gone, they're gone. Like, they're not like a storing apple. Even if you love that apple, I promise you a month later you would not love it. So it works out really well. When we had all those varieties, that was insane. There was a lot. I actually created an app called I think it's called Apple Love. It only works during the fall because I like made it special for that. I think it's called Apple Love. So anyway, I made an app, and on the app, and also on my website and on my blog, I have a list of all the different apples, and I try to categorize them into like sweet, tart, and then tart. And then we actually have samples of full apples. People are like, what, a whole apple? But really, if you cut the apples up and if they sit too long, you're not getting the true flavor of the apple.
Right.
So whatever you don't like, we feed to an animal. We have goats. We have friends that have pigs and cows that'll take whatever we can't feed to the goats. So it all goes to a good place. But
amazing. And on your website, you also have school tours that go through?
Yep, we have school tours. Yeah. So they get to go walk through the orchard and learn more about the trees.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
yeah.
And it's your last name. So
Lepacek's Orchard.
Lepaceksorchard.com. And so it opens around August 15th, 2019. And you don't pick them, but you go to the little shop. Is that right? Yes. Do you do tours of the orchard or just...
So I have a little map. You can do a self-guided tour of the orchard. What we do, we try not to be that place that has a lot of rules. We hope that the people that visit us respect our place and realize like what we're trying to do. So instead of having like fences and a whole bunch of signs, it's pretty much the path that is mostly mowed, the one that looks the shortest grass. That's where you take the path. And we have it like sort of on a map. So you can go to the orchard. I hid like doorknobs and pull knobs through the orchard so you can like go on a knob hunt, which is weird. We do lots of like weird artsy stuff. Like we have we buried a boat in the backyard that didn't work anymore. They're giving it away free on Craigslist, and our friend had a backhoe, so we buried a boat and kids love playing on it. A lot of the stuff we do is like found or free, but like fun, like unexpected.
Yeah. That's very cool. All right. And so the handcrafted hoedown for the holidays is November 16th and 17th. Is that right?
Yes.
And if people are listening, if you want to go, they just go, right?
Yep.
And if they want to do consignments, do they contact you, or sort of how does that work?
Yep, they have to either email me, or if people stop by during the week when we're open during apple season, with like examples of their product, because there's certain things that I already have a lot of. And
so it's kind of curated. It isn't like just like anything goes.
Right. I try to make it so it's not like everybody's making quilts or everybody's making bags. Like there's like a mix. Like I have somebody that does candles, and I have somebody that does I need a potter, so if there's a potter out there, like I have my soap person, you know what I mean? Like there's only so much you can carry, but
and you're trying to make it reasonable so that it's curated. It's not like just a free for all,
right?
Because that's
Well, and I run it really uniquely because people don't sit there and sell. They bring their stuff labeled with removable labels, and I take the tags and save them, and then I pay them a commission, which I only take 20% because I want it to be fun. And
yeah.
And it works. Like, I mean, it's more work for me, but it's also, I think it's more fun for my customers because then you're not paying at each separate booth. You can just like buy one load at a time.
That's hard, but that's hard to keep track of. How do you keep track of it? Do you use a software program, or how do you
I keep the tags, and I put the tags in a bucket, and then at night I sort them.
That's very high tech of you.
It is.
You with your Apple app.
Yes. I do put it on Excel so I don't like it.
Well, that's fancy. You're so fancy. I can't stand it.
I taught my kids how to sort by the tag name, so it works out good. It's a lot of work for 2 days, but honestly, it's so much easier to do that than to sometimes deal with people.
All right. You're making me crazy. All right. So I think that's so insanely cool. I wish I could go. I just think that sounds like so much fun. Okay. So back to why I thought we were here. All right. So first of all, Persimmon Dreams, is that the name of your website? Is it Persimmon?
It's Persimmon Dreams. My website now is kimlepacek.com though.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my name of my business is Persimmon Dreams. So my youngest daughter's name is Persimmony, and I just thought it was really pretty. And I got approval from the two big sisters. So it's Persimmon, and then Dreams is because a lot of my ideas come to me in my dreams. So it's like I'll wake up and I'll have this crazy, amazing idea, and I'll have to make it. And then
really, do you like keep a journal, or do you remember it, or like do you worry about forgetting it?
Write down and make it.
Really interesting. You just go down and make it.
Yeah.
Do you like know that like? Do you plan your day to make sure that like when you wake up, you've got time to do whatever you dreamed about?
Well, so the 9 months of the year that I'm not working in the apple orchard, I'm doing quilting. So I don't really have a plan ever. I just go with the flow.
You just create stuff.
Yeah, I mean, unless I have I have things to do, but I can usually fit in at least get started on something that I've been thinking about. But a lot of times I'll go to bed like with something in my head, and then like that I need to work on, and it starts in there, and then by the morning I know what I'm going to do.
You worked it out. Interesting.
Yeah.
For me, it's the shower.
Yeah.
I come out with like new business ideas, like new, like, okay, we're going to do this, like, like something about the calm of that space.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Yeah.
There's a clarity. It's the water, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Mine's it's like right before I wake up, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. Although last night I couldn't stop dreaming about math problems.
Really?
I don't know what was going on with that, but.
Interesting. Now, do you think your engineering background helps? I've interviewed a lot of scientists and a lot of engineers and a lot of computer people that quilt. Do you think that part of your brain, it's like the creative plus the engineering part is important?
Yeah. I don't think it hurts because like math is important. Math is important. I'm not like a typical engineer though, because like I really don't like following the rules, and I don't really like worry too much about perfection, and I really like to talk to people. And like I'm not like in that standard engineering category, so it's sort of different. But I mean, it was hard for me to go to the wonky side of quilting. Like it's hard for me not to like make everything completely like even, and I have no problem not being perfect.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's been hard for me to like go convert from, I was used to drafting in like MicroStation, which I don't think even exists anymore, in AutoCAD. And now I have to draft in Illustrator, which is very difficult. Okay. It's designed by I swear it has to be designed by an artist because it makes zero sense whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah. So for me, it's very frustrating, but I'm working on it, and it's my hardest time now is like when I had a job, I had like deadlines that were for real, and I had like all this stuff. So right now my hardest is sitting down and focusing and getting it done, because all my deadlines are just in my head. They're not like real.
Yeah. No, I feel that way too. Although I put a lot of stress on myself with my not real deadlines. Do you feel that way?
No, I put none. I'm like,
oh, see, we need to balance each other out, because I'm like, I have to get this done, and my husband will be like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I just do. I have to get it done.
No, I'm like, I have a whole bunch to do. I'm just gonna take a nap.
I like your strategy.
It's better. Good.
That's good. All right, so we have a couple of things to talk about. I want to talk obviously about Project Quilting. I also want to talk to you about sew-alongs, because I know that you really love them, or quilt-alongs, and yes. I'm curious about that, and then also about teaching. So let's start with whatever you want to start with. What do you want to start with? What do you want to start with? You want to start with
Project Quilting.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, so Project Quilting is a challenge that I've been running on my blog, which is now a website that has a blog. I just rebranded myself. So anyway, Project Quilting started because I discovered Project Runway. For those that don't know what Project Runway is, It's a challenge with like fashion designers. They get like a budget, they get a very limited amount of time, and a challenge that they have to design for.
And it's a TV show.
It's a TV show, yeah.
Right.
And it's still on. I haven't really watched it in a while, but I don't know which station or whatever it's on anymore. But it's amazing. I loved the creativity that people did. Just the fact that like you can't overthink it. You have a deadline.
You just have to do it.
You just have to do it.
Yeah.
So at this point in my life, I think it was 2010, I think. So I had 2 kids at that, like 2 young children. and I had the orchard, and I did not have my engineering job anymore, but I had the orchard, and I was running like a crafty business and all this stuff. And I called my mother-in-law, and I'm like, you have to teach me how to sew clothes. I want to do this. And she's like, hold up, like, you don't need another hobby or another thing to do. And so I was like, all right, fine. So then I came up with this Project Quilting, where it's a quilting challenge for quilters with a deadline. There's nothing that people have to buy, like, you can use your stash. There's very few rules and requirements. The main thing is the challenge goes up at noon on Sunday on my blog, and they have 1 week to start and finish the challenge.
So and this is happening now. Is that right?
It's happening now. We just finished the 5th challenge. Every challenge this week or this year has gotten over 100 participants, which I think is amazing.
That's very cool.
I'm so hoping the 6th challenge, which goes up on March 17th at noon, Central Daylight Time, I think we're in now, or Wisconsin time, if you ever see my little Sewing with Nancy episode. Anyway, I know I'm awesome.
You're totally awesome.
So yeah, it's amazing. I give people a week because obviously we're not like all confined in New York in a hotel where we have no other obligations.
Right.
We still have lives and we still have things to do. And I know a week even then sounds crazy, but I've had people make things as small as an inch by an inch. Like you can go as big or as small as you think you can fit in a week.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. It just the stuff people come up with, it's just incredible. Like the one that I can't stop thinking about this week, the challenge was abecedarius, which means having to do with the alphabet. And one of the ladies,
right. I've seen this. Is this the one, the circle one?
Yeah, that's my circle one. Yeah, I made a circle.
You made the circle one. Oh, it's so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But there's a lady there. She made a paint palette, and she named she put 26 colors on her watercolor paint palette, named them all in abecedarius method, so A through Z. And there's a paintbrush. It's so beautiful. I cannot even believe she did it in a week. And I'm just like in awe. And seeing what people come up with is incredible. Another person did it's a really small quilt, but she embroidered a hummingbird on it, except instead of an actual hummingbird, she used the word hummingbird to make the hummingbird. I don't even know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So cool.
Do you have one going right now, or are you waiting for the next one starts? Like, where are you in your cycle?
So this one was just the challenge was due today. So we have a week where we do voting and stuff, and also then you can do your dishes and your laundry and maybe make some meals so your family doesn't hate you. So we're on an off week, and then we'll have one more challenge this season, and then it'll start again in 2020. Usually around the first Sunday in January.
In January, so you're towards the end of the season. And this is your 10th season, is that right?
Yeah, it's our 10th season.
That is craziness.
I know, it's super awesome though. And it just started really getting more popular probably 3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I always had some participants, but I was 20. And now I'm yay, 112.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one goes up, when did you say, next weekend? Is it next? How do they find it first?
So they can go right to kimlepacek.com, and it'll be posted there.
Cool. And I'm going to spell it just in case. So Kim is Kim, and it's one word.
Yes.
LAPACEK.com. And if you go there, that's the main page. You should be able to find it. Right. So it should be at the top. There's a little menu thing, and it says Project Quilting.
Yeah, you can do that. Or else if you look on the blog, down below, there's a scrolly thing of blog
Yeah, I
posts.
see that.
It'll be the first one once noon hits.
Got it. And then who can vote? Because you can vote. It says vote for 10 of your favorite quilts.
Anybody and everybody can vote right now. So
cool.
Yeah, spread the word.
You're using, I just interviewed someone else. You're using the same program. What are you using to have the things on the bottom?
The inlinks? You mean the voting?
Yeah.
I use inlinks. The voting one though is the old version.
Mm-hmm.
They've upgraded their versions, and I don't believe they have the voting option set yet, but they said they won't delete the old version till they enable voting on the new version.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It allows you to do so much. Do you like it?
I do, as long as they can get the voting on the new version. I was a little panicky when I first earlier on, but then I emailed them and they got right back to me, which is awesome.
Interesting. Now tell me about, I see people that I know on your tell me about your sponsors and what role sponsors play in doing a challenge like this.
Okay, so sponsors, well, I always have an Ultimate Weekly sponsor, and they're sort of like my superpower sponsor, and they always give a really big prize, like $50 or more, and in exchange, I like promote them even more. Ironically enough, for the Abecedarian Challenge, Sam Hunter of Hunter's Design Studio is our challenge. Yeah, she's our Ultimate Weekly sponsor, and her book Quilt Talk is all about letters, and
so great.
She just won with is like all about words, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So I have that, and then I also have other weekly sponsors. And what I do is if you participate in the challenge and get linked up on my blog in time, which, by the way, if you're not like a big computer person and you don't know how to link up, all you have to do is email me a picture and the story, and I'll do the rest for you. And all of that's on the blog post so people can read more about it. I make this as like user-friendly as possible because I really just want to encourage people to create.
Yeah.
So later next week, I'll literally write everybody's name on a piece of paper and put them in a hat. And then my girls draw live on Facebook. So we draw winners, and there's usually about 11 to 12 prizes each week. So you can still win prizes just for participating. And then at the end of the season, if you've participated in any of the challenges, every challenge you participate in, your name in the hat. And then if you did all 6 challenges, you get 1 bonus entry in the hat for the final grand prize.
Awesome.
Yeah, and there's a viewer's choice, so that's also part of the fun of like.
Yeah, I think that one of our people was saying that, hey, go vote for me. I'm for viewers for voting for one of the things she did. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Beth. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so Project Quilting. So January till about March-ish, end of March. We're at towards the end of the season. One more challenge next week. We'll post this so that people can experience it and see if they want to play. There's no super huge requirements. You just make whatever the theme is, and you have to do it within a week. You do it within the week, and you have to link up. Like that's probably the biggest thing is you have to link up on the blog, not just post on social media, which I love that you post on social media, but you got to link it to the blog. Link it to the blog. Yep. And again, that's how there's directions here on how to do that. Yes. And they can always email me, and I put my email out there everywhere. So, yeah. Right. So it says if you own a blog, link your post about your challenge piece. You have a Flickr account, or even if just email me the picture and info, and I'll post it for you. Yep. So that's totally good. Instagram and Facebook work too. Instagram and Facebook work too. Yep. Awesome. Okay, cool. And the other thing is if they want to get involved, I do have a Project Quilting on Facebook, and I have a group on Facebook called Challenge Quilts. So if they want to join in that just to see what's going on behind the scenes, It's always a good idea. Awesome. Okay. So that's super fun. I'm so glad we chatted. Okay. So quilt-along. So we've had one. We did one. We did a Gypsy Wife quilt-along. And we're trying to figure out what we're doing next. So we're doing a bunch of stuff in March, which is we're calling it March of the Quilting Army because I need a bunch of stuff done to explain copyright. And so they're kind of quilting for me. Mm-hmm. But we're going to try to do a sew-along probably later. I'm not sure when. Probably like May or June or something like that. We'll start again. Mm-hmm. We're just still finishing up Gypsy Wife. So tell me why you like them and tell me what makes a successful one. So I think I started participating in quilt-alongs around 2008, 2009. And back then they did a lot of blog hoppy quilt-alongs where they would have a quilt-along, but they'd have a different designer / blogger do the tutorial for the quilt-along. Mm-hmm. And I was still learning how to quilt and how to piece. And I loved it because I learned so many different techniques, like all the different ways you can do half square triangles. I liked it because I tried it once and then I knew if I liked that method or if I didn't like it. Right. So it really helped me like hone my skills. I did a quilt along. This was like, I think 2009. So Sweetness did one with New York beauty blocks, which are crazy. Mm-hmm. Like they're paper piece, they're curve piecing, like it's insane. I actually just posted the picture I did with that one on my Instagram account. But it was nice because I think it was once a month or maybe it was 2 blocks a month, but there wasn't a huge commitment to it. You could just play along, do the fun, like you didn't get behind. There was plenty of time to do it so you didn't feel stressed out. I tried it. I liked that I tried it. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff about it and I learned things to do and not do in the future. So it really helped me hone my skills. And I think it's ironic that you just said the Gypsy Wife quilt along.
I did the Gypsy Wife quilt, and that was actually the first quilt I ever got a blue ribbon on.
Really?
And yeah.
It's really cool.
I know it was like I did it like really early when it first came out. I love her patterns.
Her patterns are amazing.
Yeah, they're like a puzzle, but they're amazing.
They're like a puzzle. It's totally a puzzle. I feel that way.
But I secretly love it.
I'm just putting it together, and I feel like sometimes I'm just like amazed. Like it is a puzzle. I'm like, it works, right?
Yeah. Or if it doesn't like quite work, I just added something and like nobody knows, so it's perfect.
Totally, exactly.
Yeah.
So
but that's the point. My mother-in-law was like, okay, your skills have finally caught up with your head, because I always had all these amazing ideas, but I didn't necessarily execute it.
Yeah.
Blue ribbon level. Which
are you still doing?
Always,
are you going to do? Is the scrap quilt challenge the one you're doing this year? Is that the one you're doing this year?
That's gonna happen. I haven't gotten it together yet.
Yeah.
I had I haven't posted about it, but I will do that too. I think in April I'll figure out all the details, but that's pretty general. It's just use your scraps, make a quilt, link it up.
Got it. It's not a sew along. So no. Do you think you'll do another sew along?
I probably will. I have my plan this year is I have a whole bunch of patterns that I really need to sit down and write. Mm-hmm. And then once I get those written, I have plans for sew-alongs. And I always think that I can do all this stuff, but I found that I can't do all that stuff and I have a computer.
I totally feel that way too. Oh my God. My dreams are bigger than my hours in my day.
Yeah, so I think like April, May, I'm really gonna I have a lot of traveling to do in like the next few months to guilds and stuff. But my plan is to really work on and try to focus on writing these patterns. I have like 10 quilts that I need to write patterns for. Yeah.
Now with the Dresden quilt-along, I love the Dresden neighborhood. I really want to make one of those. It's just look really fun. Did you make a different Dresden neighborhood each month? Like it looks like they were themed.
Yes. Things. It was the same pattern. I just did a different theme for each month. And then I did create a few extra special template blocks for special buildings. So you could easily like swap in a fun building like the Madison State Capitol, or I did a lighthouse because I grew up on the lake and we had a lighthouse, and we had a really iconic church in our town. So I did like certain special like bonus, like you have to purchase the bonus templates. But they were easy to swap into the Dresden neighborhood pattern. And then some of them were just like, we're going to use all solids this month. Or, some of the themes were just pretty generic, but fun, just to show people the versatility of the pattern.
Yeah. Now, let's, before we end, I have two major questions to ask you. First, what's the economics? So a lot of the stuff you're doing is taking a lot of time. Sort of how do you feel about the economic side of what you do? Like, do you need to make money off of it? Do you not? Sort of, how does that work?
Yeah, I would say I'm super lucky that we have the orchard. I always tell people, we work an insane amount of hours in 3 months. Like I say, I work my year of hours in 3 months. So because of the orchard and that stuff, I'm able to do this without worrying so much about money. But I have to say that all of this hard work is starting to pay off. I am starting, like the Project Quilting, I make nothing. I don't know how to make money off of it. I don't want to charge for it. I love that it's inspiring people. I love all the things that it's doing for the community. So I really don't want to charge for it. There's somehow I'd like to make money. I'm not really sure how. But because of Project Quilting, I've gotten a lot of talks. Like I've built myself a community around me.
Right. So you have like you're teaching, it gives you more like, yeah, your people are more aware of you.
Yes. So yeah.
And you're more of like a thing.
Yeah. Right. So that's like what Project Quilting has done for me. I don't know exactly how to put a monetary value on that, because I also think that once I do my talks, I get a lot of word of mouth for other guilds.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere in the middle there. Like some of it's from my online presence and some of it's for people seeing me and being like, oh, it's hilarious. Yeah. Like we're going to have her come.
Yeah. And then how much teaching, I see how much teaching, you have a crazy schedule.
I don't actually. So it's really only for about 3 months.
It's just a crazy 3-month schedule.
Yeah. So I don't teach at all in the fall.
You can't, because you got Apple duty.
Yeah. I do my best to not teach on weekends because I do have one coming up And of course, my kids ended up are going to be putting in state. So I try really hard not to teach on weekends because I have small children. I guess they're not that small, but 12, 11, and 7. 12, 11, and 7.
Yeah, so they still need you.
Yeah, they still need me, and they're in so many like activities and sports, and I hate missing that stuff.
Yeah.
They're only young once. I retired from my engineering job to be there to like
I get that.
be with my kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
I get that.
So
I always
I
feel
really
like,
don't.
yeah, I'm a law professor. That's what I do. I don't know if you know but I'm a law professor. It doesn't seem like it at the moment, but and that was part of the choice because I have a really cool teaching schedule, but I have holidays off and I can pick up my kid from school, and I didn't want to be in a law firm. I wanted to be with it was so hard to have the kid that I was like, I want the kid. That's the kid time, right? Like, for me personally, I just wanted to spend time with them.
Well, and with my job, after I had my first kid, they were letting me work 4 days a week, which was supposed to be 32 hours, but that was more like 40 to 45. And then you're still not like getting your projects done the way you want. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is, I missed my daughter's first tooth coming in. That was like it for me. I'm like, I can't do it. Like, it's a weird thing.
Okay, so you do about 3, and then so you're traveling.
My travel.
You're doing fairly significant travel. You're not going you're in Minnesota and Illinois, so you're going far, but not super far. Is that right?
Well, I do I just started booking some farther away stuff. So at the end of May, I'm going to North Carolina, but it's right around Memorial Day. So I think we're going to make a family trip out of it.
Nice.
So I think the girls are going to come with, and then my husband and the girls will just explore the city for the days that I talk at night and then I teach for a day. So they have 12 hours where I'm not there.
Very cool.
No big deal. And we like to drive. I grew up in a family that drove everywhere and we traveled a lot. So
what's the secret to that? So what do you like about driving, and how much driving do you do a day when you take trips like this?
Oh, I don't know. We've driven in North Carolina. We've driven home from North Carolina in a whole day before. But normally I know, it's weird. I also don't let my kids watch movies in the car. So they have to just be there. Nice. Which we'll see how this goes now that they're older. But they've never experienced them, so they don't know what they're missing,
Right.
Unless they might have with friends, whatever. I'm thinking, I don't know exactly what we're going to do. We really need to make a decision on that. But there's also one in Denver in July of 2020, and I'm thinking that could be really fun. I married a farmer, so even though I grew up traveling a lot, we don't travel a lot as it is now, and I really want my kids to get more
comfortable with travel.
Well, they're comfortable with travel. I just want them to get opportunities. They're in the sports these days. They play a lot of sports, which is great, but it's also really hard to travel.
Yeah, because of scheduling.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
so revenue from teaching, and what else? Not from project, and the revenue from quilt-alongs, because do you have them buy any kind of kits or other things?
I did the Dresden neighborhood quilt-along. I did that as you got to buy the pattern if you wanted to do it, or so that was really good, which is also why I want to write my pattern so that when I do my quilt-alongs, it's here's the pattern you have to buy.
Right.
I used to do a lot of them free, but because I met Sam, we're so worth it.
We are so worth it. That's right.
Yes. I'm learning a lot that you shouldn't always do things for free, and which is good. I still offer a lot of me for free. But it's good to have support. And that's part of the reason that I do. So part of the reason I do Viewer's Choice for a week is by making people link up to my blog, which can be a pain in the butt to some people.
Yeah.
And sending people there, that's building my blog traffic, which makes it easier for me to get sponsors.
Yeah.
It builds up my AdSense. It builds up other I have Amazon affiliates on there.
Right.
There's really a reason behind it. It's not necessarily just to get Viewer's Choice. It's to get people there. And if you tell your friends and family about it and they see these quilts that they're not what they expect.
Yeah. They're not.
It's really cool to show people that quilting's so many things. It's not just.
It's totally true. Yeah.
It's not just what you remember from your childhood. There's so much more to it. So, it's getting there. The Dresden neighborhood pattern has exploded for me. I sell PDFs. I sell it through distributors. I sell wholesale. It's been amazing. Like, I don't even.
Now, was there, with the little house Dresden neighborhood, was there something like that before you did this, or did you create this phenomenon?
I created the Dresden. So sometimes during off seasons of Project Quilting, so like April through December, if I have time and energy, we'll post like a off season challenge, and it'll be a challenge and you have a month to create the project, which ironically you get less people to participate, which is funny. But I also don't deal with prizes and stuff, because then it's one less thing for me to headache about. So we had an off season challenge, and at the same time I was running a quilt along on my blog where I was twisting a traditional block into an untraditional way every week for a whole year. So the challenge was to use one of those rulers that you have that you've never used before. You know,
we all have those.
Right. So I had that, and I also had to get my my twisted traditional block done. So I created. That's how the Dresden neighborhood came to be. I was like looking at the Dresden plate thing, and I'm like, how could I twist this? And I was like, oh, these could be houses. So it happened in like 2 hours. Like this whole thing started in 2 hours.
That's craziness.
And now it's just like exploded, and people love it, and I love that people love it. And
had you seen that before? Like, are you really the first person to have made Dresden into houses?
I never had seen it before.
You'd never seen it before. Now it's everywhere, right?
Right, yeah, because that was back in 2000 and probably 11 or 12.
Wow, that's amazing.
I want to say. Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't say that nobody ever did it before. I personally.
No, but it's like a thing. I mean, that's where it originates. So let me ask you a question. So, because this is we're down to the intellectual property side, and this is the last bit, and I'll let you go. Okay. So you've created something. You took a tool that was a public domain tool, right? Nothing special about the tool, and you did something really clever with it. How do you feel about that creation? I mean, you obviously have to see people who haven't bought your book necessarily doing what you do. Do you feel like it's just like that idea is out there, or do you feel protective of it, or sort of how do we understand sort of the contemporary person that makes something awesomely new?
I have to say, well, what do I want to say? I'm in the middle ground, okay? Because I get, like, you can see a pattern and you're like, oh, I can make that. I get that. Right. But you also, like, now that I'm farther into this designer thing, a lot of times if I do see these things online, or like a lot of, like, people know that it's my pattern, so it'll be posted in a Facebook group, and I'll be like, and they're like, Kim Lepacek. And so I go on there and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Like, thank you so much for using my pattern. And I post a link to my pattern, and that generates sales. Like, even if they didn't use my pattern and they, like, I don't think they're intentionally doing anything wrong.
Right.
I try to I try to think people are good people. It's sort of just the same with the orchard. People are like, well, do you worry about people stealing from you? And maybe I shouldn't even say this out loud, but my thoughts are, if people need to steal from me, then they must really need it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they really need that apple, or if they really need whatever, like, then I guess they really need it. I did have a situation where somebody designed a paper piece pattern they must have seen the image like on Pinterest or something, because this blew up before I even knew that that was a thing, you know. So they literally copied my Dresden neighborhood and made a paper piece pattern and was selling it. I mean, literally the houses were the same color, they were the same height, the same roof angles. Like, it was ridiculous.
Because, like, the thing about yours that are so clever, they're so clever, right? Like, they're so, like, just lovely. And so what did you do then? So the idea of taking Dresden and making it into a house, probably not protectable, but the specific way that you do it is protectable. And so is that the way you feel about it?
A totally different way, because it was paper piece, not the way that I do it. But it was so exactly the same as my pattern. I did contact the person.
Right. So the technique that you made it was different, which is not protectable.
Right.
But the result was similar.
It was exact. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, honestly, if they would have tweaked it a little bit, I would have been like, there's nothing I can do about this. But it was ridiculously exact. So I did email her, and I'm like, this is not acceptable. Like,
yeah.
And then she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't realize anybody had designed it. Like, even though she blatantly copied, like, whatever. She took it down. She did a whole new thing. She did create something similar, but it's not the same. And I'm going to, like, if I stress out about everybody that tries to steal my stuff,
Well, and I mean, I think that there's really a question. I mean, that's a really good question, is like, how much is it? So it's all idea expression, right? So this idea of the house is not protectable,
right.
but your stuff is. And so it's hard. And then there's that weird gray area that you're talking about. So tell me what you did in terms of, do you have it in a book or a pattern? Sort of tell me a little bit about, here's the pattern. Here we go. And the templates. You also made templates. So they can, really interesting. So around the world, special template. And what does a template give you? That
just gives you the buildings. And basically it's just a sketch of the building. So you use that for like, it's to help you, help you, guide you through the applique process.
Right. And it's got Leaning Tower of Pisa. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. The Eiffel Tower. Right. Okay. So it gives you, is it like a downloadable?
Yes, those are PDFs. My pattern, you can either buy a PDF, a hard copy, or I have sold them to like local quilt shops all over the U.S.
And do you do that through a distributor or directly?
Both. I have Brewer is selling them, and then I also sell wholesale for my site.
So cool.
Yeah.
And then
And the thing about my pattern is it's a pattern, but it sort of shares with you the process more than like do this exactly. Because I want people to express themselves and take it.
It's about sort of being creative, not about matching exactly what you did. Is that right?
And and like the thing is like, I could look at that pattern and figure it out on my own. Like I'm an engineer, I've been quilting a long time, but to support an artist by giving them the $8 for the pattern fee, I feel like I'm going to support you. I'm going to give you $8, like come up with something else.
That's totally it. Oh. I mean, I think, that really, that's where I come down on it as well. It is, I mean, I'm starting to talk to people about, so I'm a copyright professor, right? So I know the law. The whole point is to understand how the role of the law fitting into creative work.
Right.
And so, sure, I don't necessarily need your pattern, but I may want some insight. And also I want to support your dollars or your vote. So if you really like this person, vote for them, right? Like buy their pattern because you're supporting them and telling them to encourage them to continue to create. So we have to stop thinking about this as like, I figured it out and I don't need to buy it. No. You saw it, support that artist. They made you something else that you think is really cool. At least that's the way I feel about it. And that's custom and that's bigger than just like, well, am I going to get sued if I do that? That's not the point. The point is to have a really cohesive, happy ecosystem. And that's how you have that happen.
Right. And I honestly, like, if I spent all my time like hunting down people that didn't buy my pattern and made my quilt, I'd have an ulcer. Like it would be, I don't think I could do it.
What are you going to do? I mean, that's not really, so I think like, okay. So then let me ask you one more question about this. What kind of copyright notice, if you remember, usually I ask people to send the pattern to me because I want to see the copyright notice.
I probably have a C on there with like a year. And
and your name. That's what you did? That's
cool.
So. And then do you ever sell it to classes? Like how do you sell it to classes? Do they individually buy it or do you do a class price?
I like to do it if like one person organizes it. If they buy 10 or more patterns, I'll give them my wholesale price.
You'll give them the wholesale price.
Yeah, but they have to buy at least 10. So if they don't buy 10, it's the regular price.
Interesting.
So,
awesome.
And I don't know if that's the way I should do, but to be honest, like the more that people make the quilt and post the quilt, the more patterns it sells. So it's crazy how that all works. And at this point, I'm not doing much for the pattern. Like it's there, it's done. I mean, I have to buy the hard copies, but I taught my kids how to put them in bags. So yeah. I don't know.
That's great. This is really cool. Any worries about intellectual property or anything else you want to tell? Any stories or anything you're curious about?
Not really. I don't know.
Pretty good too.
I feel pretty good about, like that one situation was an eye opener. I was like, are you kidding me? This is the exact quilt. But and the other part about that was the person that did that was not in the U.S. So I don't think I would have been able to do anything.
It would have been hard. And also, enforcing copyright can get expensive, so.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, honestly, the only thing I could have done is bring down the wrath of social media. And you don't really want to do that unless you have to.
I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah. Well, the amount of patterns I've sold for that, if she hadn't taken it down, I probably would have, just because it was such a blatant copy.
Yeah, you got it. And you do kind of have to police it. Otherwise, it just gets out of hand. So there is it's a balance, it's a choice. And we see this with all kinds of things. If you think about like the movies industry and all that, they have the same issues, only bigger.
Yeah.
Like how much are they going to come down? And sometimes it's your fans. So, I mean, it's a complicated thing. It isn't like, it's not.
Yeah.
Simple.
Right. But luckily she just took it down right away and realized like, oh crap, the designer noticed or something. I don't know, but she took it down right away. And so I just, you just let it go then, it's done.
Yeah.
So it worked out, but
cool.
That was like in one of those places you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I can do anything about this. It's a different method and it's.
Now, what role do quilt shows and like going to quilt shows or putting quilts in shows, does that play any role in your like existence?
I think my favorite thing, I do put quilts in quilt shows, mostly just local. I don't really like shipping my quilts because it makes me nervous. But my favorite thing that ever was said to me at a quilt show is like these ladies, and this was before I like had won any ribbons ever in my life. And these ladies came up to me and they're like, oh, we just love it. We like look through that. We just like glance at the quilt show and we know exactly which ones you made. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
That's really great. I like that. Oh, that's really nice. Well, this has been just lovely. I mean, this is great. I really appreciate you. I know we had to reschedule and it was a little chaotic on my end. But this is just great. You're just amazing and fun. And I got to meet the person who did the Dresden Houses. So I've been wanting to do this for so long. So I'm going to buy the pattern and totally do it. So I'm really psyched.
And then you can share it with me so I can share it with people.
Totally. Awesome. Okay, well, cool. Well, hold on while I turn off the recordings. And do you need to review this before I post it?
No.
Awesome. Fabulous. That makes it really good. All right, cool. All right, hold on. So you've been listening to JustWannaQuilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School. And I'm Elizabeth Townsend Gard. If you like this podcast, keep listening. Also, we have a Facebook group. Come join us. We talk about a lot of things. We also have an Instagram account. And of course, most importantly, I really hope you get a chance to quilt today.